welcome to the Beasts of the NFC East podcast. I am your host, Sean Gnitzcavich, with my co-host, Jeremy Goode. And Jeremy Goode, I'm not even going to ask, I'm going to tell you what's good. The New York Football Giants. But also, we made it 18 weeks. This is the first year of the podcast. I think our top viewer numbers so far are like 35, but, we're growing. We got room to grow, but it's been a great season. Well, it's been a pretty abysmal season for the Giants, but yeah, a lot of news, a lot to get into, but I will ask you, Jeremy, what is good? What is good?
18 weeks of podcasting, that's good. Otherwise, there's not much good football in the NFC East.
But I mean, you could argue
the Eagles do get to play the Bucs.
Yeah.
There's such a bad. I don't know. It's so hard. The Eagles are a pretty bad team at the moment, but then they suck you back in because you start playing the Buccaneers. The line's at 2.5 in favor of the Eagles. I would take the Bucs with that, but I don't want to lose people money. I don't want to win people money. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's. You know what? I guess we need to congratulate the Cowboys for keeping the NFC East record of 19 seasons of a different division champ, and the Eagles.
So weird.
The Cowboys took it, and they also are the number 2 seed, which is crazy because if the Lions won, and then the Niners, lost, the Lions would have been the 1 seed, which is crazy.
With the Eagles lost too.
Yeah, with the Eagles lost too.
Right.
Which dude,
yeah,
the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, raise your hand if you're undefeated in 2024.
Raise your hand if we're going to be playing in January this year.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
I love it. Every Giants fan was chirping me yesterday. You not as much, which I found interesting. But
dude, like I'm very aware. Like I've said this.
That's what I think. Yes,
Giants to maybe fall to 3, but fall to pick 3. If we lost, but things didn't even really fall in our favor. We would have. I mean, we just moved down to pick 6
from 5.
Yeah, from 5 to 6. But you know what? Like, I think this gives a little bit of hope. I don't know how much continuity is going to be. There's a lot of big pieces that are free agents going into next year. There's a lot of news. Giants fired Wink Martindale, our defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. We also made a bunch of other moves. I think so. Let's just lay this out. We are going to go into a quick recap of the games.
Yes.
And then we're going to save the preview for the playoffs for next episodes. So there will be their own episodes. But we are going to just kind of dive into like a little recap of the season, And also for the teams that are now the season is over, we're going to dig into the cause of death and the obituaries and for the Commanders and the Giants, whose seasons are over and big changes have already been made on Black Monday.
Yes.
So, yeah. Ron Rivera also fired after 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Wink Martindale fired. I mean, some big changes. And also, like, the Giants beat the Eagles, and the Eagles don't look that healthy or they don't really have much momentum going into the playoff run, which we will touch on.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to get into before we get into the first game?
No. Let's dive in. Let's dive into week 18.
Week 18. We made it. We made it. Okay, we'll start off with probably the more exciting game. Both of them weren't really too exciting, but the Eagles travel to MetLife for Sterling Shepard's probable last game as a Giant. And the
Saquon too,
maybe Saquon too, which we will get into. And the Giants destroy the Eagles, who were starting their starters. It's not like they benched their starters. 27-10. They were beating the starters, 24?
0?
Yeah.
There were a lot of starters who weren't playing already that were hurt. So it was kind of weird, but yes, there were a good bit of starters playing in this game.
Yeah. And the Giants, this is like probably the best the Giants offense has looked all season. That's not saying much against a very struggling Eagles defense, but this was a defense that was highly touted going into the season. So, let's just Sterling Shepard. Like the season's over, but there is some cool highlights here. Like Xavier McKinney, who is an impending free agent, had 2 interceptions.
Really nice interception on Hurts too.
Yeah. Wait, they were both
really stupid throw, but yeah, it was a great play.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, no, I mean,
and I said in live, I said I think his feet were in. I don't think that's the problem. He just had to complete the catch. It looked like the feet were pretty clean from the start. I mean, it was close, but it looked like they were down in bounds.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was a great game on all cylinders for the Giants, and a pretty ugly game for the Eagles on all ends. But Sterling Shepard moved his way to 5th on the Giants' all-time receptions list with 372, passing Jeremy Shockey, which I also hammered Sterling Shepard touchdown because I feel like they did all this hype. They tried to get the touchdown. Even Brian Dable at the end gave Shepard the game ball and was like, should have had a touchdown too. But yeah, it was
bad.
And especially one of those resulted in a Reed Blankenship interception at the end of the first half.
Right. That was doing too much if you were Tyrod. It was I get wanting to get him a touchdown there, but
Sterling Shepard in double coverage.
It's a bad throw. It was in front of Brad. Even Bradbury somehow will make a play there. So I love the idea. Just the one play, one execution that didn't go their way was Sterling was on Sterling's way. So unfortunate for him.
Saquon Barkley, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards from scrimmage. Wan'Dale Robinson looked great. I also read the stat. Wan'Dale Robinson is 3rd in the league in separation yards per route, with 4 yards per route of separation, which is like great.
Interesting stat. Yeah.
I mean, it's good moving forward, for sure. Darius Slayton had a good day. Jalen Hyatt got injured after his first catch with his hamstring, was out right after that, which was sick because that was the one thing that kept me from an 8-leg parlay hitting, was Jalen Hyatt receiving yards. So that was awesome. But it kind of sucks too, because Jalen Hyatt finished his rookie year without a touchdown. And I think that was another thing that they would probably go for. And also I'm surprised they didn't let Saquon get the 1,000 yards receiving or 1,000 yards rushing. He fell short.
They gave him enough touches. Now, of course, they could have given him more. Well, but
at the end, they put in Eric Gray like a bunch. Right. And I think also like give Eric Gray some time. He hasn't really done anything this season. So
I think I mean, he missed it by like 30-ish yards, correct? Around there.
It was 38.
Yeah, yards. I guess they're not. I mean.
That last quarter, he could have hit it in that last quarter, and they
I don't know if they're thinking maybe I would have tried to, but I get, I don't know. I get
it. And it makes negotiations better too, because with Saquon being an impending free agent, like 1,000 looks a lot better than 960.
I think smart GMs are going to read between the lines a little bit, though. And Saquon was also, what was he out for 3 games this year?
Yeah. So it's like it's not like
It's also easy in today's NFL with 17 games. It's easy to get to 1,000, quite frankly. So, I think GMs are looking more into different things than just like that number. But it definitely looks prettier. Maybe you make a few extra bucks here and there. But I get it.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor looked great. And I was looking at the stats of the Giants quarterbacks for the year. And like Tyrod Taylor, I mean, he led in passing yards. He played 11 games, not a full 11 games either, because he got injured a couple times. But finished with 1,300 passing yards, which isn't great. But he also almost threw for 300 this game. Threw for about over 300 last game. He had a little bit less of a passer rating at 89.1 underneath Tommy DeVito, but Tommy DeVito, they weren't asking him to do much. I also saw Tyrod Taylor had the highest yards per pass attempt since Eli Manning in 2011. That just shows how stagnant this Giants offense has been for so long. And so it was refreshing seeing Tyrod Taylor. Joe Shane said he might bring him back. We don't know. But also, I was looking, his sack rate for starting or playing the most games is like literally, 13 less than Daniel Jones, who played almost half as many games as him, and 20 less
20.
than
Yep.
Tommy DeVito, which is crazy. So yeah, that just kind of says about this season. Like, Tommy DeVito, listen, it was fun, great storyline. Giant season's over. I don't think any reasonable fan with any smarts really is like, oh yeah, Tommy DeVito, he's our like, please guys, please, he is not our future.
He's too slow at making decisions, and he's overwhelmed too easily. Not his fault; he's just not a good player. But you can really see hand in hand when you compare him to him and Tyrod. It's night and day.
Oh, when Tyrod went out for a little bit, I was like, oh gosh, no. Yeah. Like that's when like my true reality set in, where I'm like, I don't want to see Tommy DeVito in this. I really don't. I want to see Tyrod Taylor because he was having success. But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about this game before we get into?
Tyrod, he's got an arm. I really like him as a backup in today's NFL. I think that's a perfect spot for him. I think if he's your starter, obviously there's issues for an extended period of time. Not because he's not good. It's just really hard to be a starter in the NFL, a good one. But he's found his role in the NFL. It's to be a guy who can come off the bench and sling rock, be smart, make plays, and get you some wins when he can. Not a great situation with the Giants because not a really good team to play around for the entire year. So it wasn't – the wins weren't exactly there for him, but he played well enough, I guess, to earn wins in some ways. And he got a few, too, on his own as well. So, good player. I was also surprised Saquon didn't get to 1,000. I thought he'd run a little more.
Yeah.
I think
it seemed like a decision. Like, he seemed like he was even happy with like letting Eric Gray get.
That's what it looked like to me. And I think I think it could be I don't know. We'll see. I think
he instead of last season, he's like, oh, I want to be a Giant for life. He like kind of screwed himself in negotiations with that.
He did. Yep.
This year, he made it sound like he might not be back. Like it's like the end of his reign. But I don't think that's going to be true. I think that he understands the market in New York too, and I think he likes that. I mean, look at like Victor Cruz, who like love Victor Cruz as a player. He has a great career right now in broadcasting, and I'm not going to lie, his personality is not premier. But like he has it just for being a Giant. Like so many, like Ozzy Omenora, Justin Tuck. I mean, those guys won Super Bowls. Victor Cruz won a Super Bowl, but Saquon's so beloved. I think that he has a career, and he always wanted to do broadcasting. But hopefully he's I mean, I was rooting for Saquon. He got 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards per scrimmage. He was definitely the best offensive player for the Giants, even though he averaged like a low yard per carry. It's that doesn't really tell the picture of how he played in that game.
Right.
And on the season, I think he only averaged like 3.5 yards per carry on the season. Like
2.5?
No, 3.5.
Oh,
3.9.
Okay.
Which is like also not phenomenal for somebody.
Yeah, I mean I think it's a little below average, but it was also a really awful Giants team. So I think that maybe that plays into it. He's getting older. I think his role has to change as a running back in some ways. Is he a premier back going forward for another team? Can he give you 18 carries? Or do you have to chalk up at least 3 games where he's not going to play? It'll be interesting with him. I think this was sort of his last run as a really, really premier running back. And
look at the market, dude. Derrick Henry's a free agent. Austin Eckler's a free agent. Josh Jacobs. Like,
there's a lot. Yeah, it's tough because money. Well, money. You're going to have to see what these guys go for. Miles Sanders made a lot of money last year. He was also unplayable for most of the season. So I don't know. I think there are always going to be teams who pay running backs, but some teams might. I don't know. I've heard Saquon to the Eagles. I've heard to other places too. I think it's a win. I think if you bring him back, if you're the Giants, it's a win in a way. because of familiarity and,
Yeah.
maybe you'll help him out. I think if he doesn't return to the team, it's also a win because you can kind of move forward. You can not that he was a burden at
More
all,
cap
good
space.
guy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think that some things you gotta move forward from. And I think Saquon early in his career was very exciting, very dynamic. And I think
He's
now it's not the same for him running in
Yeah,
New
I mean,
York.
I think he probably should have taken. Well, first off, uh, last season during the bye week, they offered him, I think, like 13 million a year, and he wanted like 15 million. Definitely
Yeah.
should have taken that for like 3 years.
Oh
Definitely should
yeah,
have taken that.
I agree.
And then I think we offered him like 3 years, 30 million afterwards, which was essentially like 3 franchise tags. Which Joe Shane in the end of the season presser did say, like, hey, we might franchise tag him. Who knows? I think
Barkley?
that's
I
yeah,
don't think that's
dude,
entirely
I
him at
don't
all.
think we should franchise tag him at all. I think that's just
As
something.
much as Joe Shane's always been interesting to me, he seems smarter than that. That doesn't seem
Oh yeah,
very intelligent at all.
yeah, and he's been very coy about like the Daniel Jones thing. Which, by the way,
Yes.
a Giants reporter asked Daniel Jones, I think today or yesterday, what do you think? Do you think the Giants should draft a quarterback in the first round? Ask Daniel Jones that. Like, what do you think?
Yeah,
He literally was just like,
read
"What?" Like,
read the room a little bit. It's not. Yeah, it's like
come on, man.
is Tyrod a free agent?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
All
it's
right,
not
so
like
I mean, we can get into the free agents, I think, later into the offseason, but
yeah, that's fine. I was just
uh,
wondering. Yeah,
Tyrod Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney, Adoree Jackson, Isaiah Simmons, Sean Robinson, who is probably our second best defensive tackle with Leonard Williams
yes,
gone. And I'm trying to think. I think like those are all like there's obviously like little like no name special teamers, but those are like the big ones. Like Paris Campbell's on there, but like we had him for 1 year for a reason. He
yeah.
was like a healthy scratch for like the end of the season. So
He might be a healthy scratch for every NFL team.
yeah, for the rest, yeah. I mean that just kind of happens, like
What did Daniel Jones say? Was he interested in the
he
Giants?
he literally was like he didn't answer. He was like, I have confidence in myself, essentially. Like
There you go.
what are
Okay.
you supposed to say, man?
Yeah, that's
I will say this: we're filming this before the Washington game, but I said early in the season I was a huge fan of Michael Penix, and we're kind of falling into that range, and he's raising his stock where we might meet right at the perfect spot at
yeah,
6. But I also
yeah.
really like Roma Dunze more than Neighbors even, and
Oh, I
Dunze
like
might
that.
be there too.
Neighbors
Yeah,
is good. Neighbors is consistent, but yes,
yeah.
that's
We'll get into that in the offseason
a
because we have
discussion
plenty
for
of.
another time, no doubt.
But yeah, we'll finish with the Giants. I mean, there's disappointments. I would
Oh yeah,
say Darren Waller. I mean, the whole thing was a disappointment. I was going to this preseason thinking we were going to be 10-7. I thought playoffs for sure. The Giants. I mean, we only got better on paper. Although our one loss, Julian Love, was a Pro Bowler, which hurts, but also congrats, Julian Love. But like our safety play was great even without him. Jason Pinnock had a great year. Jason Pinnock goes down. Dane Belton has been great. 2 interceptions last week. Like,
yep.
But our offensive line was like losing Andrew Thomas for 7 games. We started Marcus McKeithen, like a 3rd-round pick that was supposed to be a guard at left tackle. We had Justin Pugh at left tackle. Like this season went as awry as possible. And then starting off with that loss to the Cowboys, I was like, I almost gave up hope right then. Like with such high expectations, man. Yeah, the season sucked, but you know what? It was fun. Tommy DeVito, like, hey, the gabagool, Tommy DeVito, the Jersey Juice, like that's fun. We had fun. We ended on a high note with this win. I'm glad that we got to get a win for Sterling Shepard and maybe Saquon Barkley's last game.
Yeah, I'm sure that one will help them after going 6-11. I'm not a big fan of win the last one and set you off for success in the next season. It's nice in theory. I don't know how. It depends. I think if you had maybe a young franchise quarterback going forward, maybe it could refocus you. If you had a lot of money go into the offseason for free agency, maybe stuff like that, But it's a strong game by them. I just don't know how much momentum it'll bring with so many questions. And I guess to counter, everything that went right yesterday for the Giants, losing Wink Martindale, regardless of how you lost him, probably doesn't sit that great today going forward. So,
No, it definitely doesn't.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's your team. It's you gotta find the best in them when you can, I guess. Coming from someone who's not that happy with their own team, but it just
Very
like
true.
it seemed like I said from the beginning. I thought that the Giants peaked last year, and got there a little earlier than they probably should have. There's nothing you can do about it because you wanted to win, and then they go to the divisional round of the playoffs. Um, yeah, I just don't know with them. I think you gotta build through the trenches. I think you need an offensive line, a quarterback, and then you can really get started somewhere.
Yeah, I just I don't know. Some people, a lot of mocks have already moved to Giants going O-line in the first round after the Evan Neal thing. Don't love, like Evan Neal was a premier prospect. Don't
Yeah,
love that.
I get it.
Don't love it. But the free agency market doesn't look like there's any like premier but also with the hopes that Evan Neal maybe can develop after hopefully going into next season healthy finally. Maybe we just get some mid tier and get some depth because we needed a lot of depth this year. Like we
True or
signed Justin
false?
Pugh
But
off the couch.
yeah,
Like
true or
yeah,
false? I'm a Giants fan for you. I know that for me the answer is true. Well, I don't want to say yet, but I'll let you
yeah,
answer. If you can develop, if worst case scenario, you develop Evan Neal as a competent starting guard, that's a
yeah,
win, right?
yeah. That's a win.
Yeah,
Hands down. Hands
that's
down.
what I think.
I already have like a million like draft things because like after week 5 or 6 when I gave up, I just started focusing on the draft because like
Yeah,
looking forward to the future. I
yeah.
see a couple of draft scenarios and a couple of free agency scenarios, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Just to wrap up the Giants season, Wink Martindale was fired. I do have this insider info, which I was so I was texting, with a little Giants group chat. A good boy, good friend Espo Doodles, who has a great like fan account and makes really awesome graphic design. This was right before Wink was fired, and I was like, "Oh, with the presser, they said they want to bring him back," But so apparently, this is all like speculation. But there was some insider that messaged another Giants Instagram account, and they said, "Don't expect Wink there much longer." When they fired Drew Wilkins, which was our edge rusher coach, outside linebacker, but essentially our edge rushers, who sucked, by the way. Like, even Kayvon Thibodeau, who had 11 and a half sacks, out of 78 pass rushers, the pass rush win rate for the Giants' 3 leading pass rushers was 70, 73, and 78. And I'm pretty sure Kayvon was 70. Like, that's how bad we were at pass rush win rate. When they fired him, that was kind of like the last straw. Apparently, this is what Wink said. He stood up and yelled, "Fuck you." And then he said, "You had no idea how to run an offense, and you never gained a fucking yard against him in practice," and told him to rot in hell and stormed out. That's what Wink
Who did you
said.
say that to? Dable?
That's what he said to Dable. Apparently. Yeah, this is. I mean, I don't know. It's just some juicy stuff. But I loved Wink.
Was this a few weeks ago?
No, this was today. This was today.
Okay.
That came out right before he resigned. Like literally, I'm reading that and I'm texting. Oh, maybe I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to believe that. And then literally within that minute, the Wink resignation news came out. So
there you go.
Which he wanted to be fired. He wanted to be fired really bad, but so that way he could get paid and then move on.
Yes.
But since he resigned, he doesn't get the contract. And I think he's going to go to the Eagles. I have like a very haunting suspicion he's going to go to the Eagles, and I hate it, dude. I hate it.
He's good with blitzing, of course. That's his main focus. He did a great job. I don't know why the Eagles didn't adjust at all whatsoever. Yeah. He's good at that. There are some holes, not major holes, but I think it's interesting to see, even after his Baltimore days, Baltimore still has maybe a top 3 defense in the NFL, give or take.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a knock on Wink. But yeah, they Eagles will be I pretty much assume we'll be looking for a defensive coordinator. And
Yeah.
but it depends. I mean, maybe teams are looking for. I think the Eagles might be looking for a head coach too. But I think, do some people look at Wink and say head coach material?
Well, that's the thing. He hasn't been getting the head coach offers that he
Right.
had after last season, where he had like multiple head coach. Like he had an interview with the Colts and with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And same with Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka, who some people say might be on his way out too, which is really a testament to Brian Dable. They say that he might be hard to work with. I don't know. I don't believe all this speculation. I like Brian Dable still. I trust in Brian Dable.
I think Kafka's kind of a bum, honestly. I think he has somehow gone through the ranks in the NFL, falling up a case of stairs, which is mind-boggling. But it helped to be under
Well, he was
Andy.
a quarterback coach in KC. Which,
Yeah, it
like,
helped. He was a
Adam
quarterback.
Gase was Peyton Manning's quarterback coach, and he got all these opportunities.
He was also the quarterback with the Eagles in the early 2000s under head coach Andy Reid. So that helped him get the job. And obviously, a lot of these next quarterbacks can be great quarterback coaches. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing that he's wowing with in KC. That wasn't Bieniemy and Reid really made Mahomes. And then he goes to the Giants, and you don't want to put Kafka's face on any of those quarterback projects, really. He wasn't really responsible for that. If anything, it was Dable. Yeah. So, maybe it wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing to get a better QB coach in for the Giants, because Kafka's just he's a classic example of a guy who just fell up. He keeps on falling upstairs. He gets promotions.
Yeah. I mean, I think he did a good job with Tyrod towards the end of the season, and also like making Tommy DeVito look competent. I think that Tommy DeVito's success might be, I don't know if it was more Dable or Kafka, but the game plan with DeVito, I think, was executed in a way to work around his strengths and avoid his weaknesses.
From an outsider looking in, and from also following Bobby from Talking Giants.
Bobby Skinner? Oh, yeah.
It seems like Dable had a part of getting DeVito serviceable, getting the ball out quicker, using slants, etc. So, I don't know. Take it for a grain of salt here and there. Got to look more into it. So, yeah.
Yeah. But let's just run through some other quick news with the Giants losing the season. I do want to say Darius Slayton, I said it before, 4 out of his 5 seasons, he's led the Giants in receiving yards. And think of all this like praise for Sterling Shepard, who's been here for eight or 9 seasons. Darius Slayton has had a much better career than Sterling Shepard has.
Oh yeah,
by far.
Oh, yeah.
And he does not get enough credit. And I look forward to having Darius Slayton moving forward, like not as a wide receiver 1, but as a wide receiver 2, 3.
Yep.
I mean, like he's somebody who can get a lot of success for the Giants.
Reliable, 50 catches, 770, 4 touchdowns, product of the quarterback, in my opinion. Also, the end zone kind of can get it. It depends on how offenses utilize their players in the red zone, etc. So it can kind of leave some guys out here and there. But those are pretty good numbers for a wide receiver 2, 3, especially 3. Yeah.
And the other thing, Bobby Okereke and Xavier McKinney, only players to play every single defensive snap in the entire league.
They said that a few snaps into the Eagles Giants game yesterday. Pretty impressive. Iron Man award, I guess. Yeah. Those guys are probably already on their vacations and resting their bodies, because I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine every snap. But they should probably get a little extra incentive for that, because that's football's a punishing sport on your body, and to play every snap on defense is pretty absurd in today's world.
Yeah, especially with Bobby Okereke leading the Giants in tackles. I don't even know where he ranks in but 150 tackles, that's that's a lot of contact. And also, I think he had 11 tackles for loss. Like Bobby Okereke should have been a Pro Bowler. Giants' only Pro Bowler was Dexter Lawrence, which I respect. I mean, he's the best player on the Giants. So well deserved. Bobby Johnson, the O-line coach that everybody hated, he's fired. Thank the Lord. And Thomas McGahee, our special teams coordinator, which I think a lot of people was calling for his job midway this season as well, has been fired. He's actually been a part of the Giants for a long time. I think he had a place on the Giants somewhere in the organization during the last Super Bowl run too. So,
oh wow, okay.
Crazy. Yeah, he was also the special teams coordinator and just kind of just continued the job
Yeah.
like when Dable was hired. So yeah, but I think anything you want to just I know we're going to really focus on the Eagles in the upcoming weeks because they're the only ones actually playing. You want to comment anything about the Eagles season?
Uh Great first 11 weeks, just disappointing afterwards. I think I don't know. I think it's a team that just ran out of gas defensively. Just a lot of old, slow guys on the field, which is never good in today's NFL. Um, they haven't prioritized linebackers and safeties for the decade. That's just how he's motto. I agree with it mostly. I think those are the two positions where you shouldn't invest that much money, but you have to put some dollars towards it. And they didn't. They didn't have a plan for linebacker. The Kobe Dean. He's been hurt all of his career. Maybe I think into college a little bit too at Georgia. They had no
Yeah.
plan behind him, so it's just a
Well,
lot of
you guys
things.
did have Miles Jack before he retired, and then
We
also
did. He was
Cunningham.
yeah. And
Yeah.
Cunningham, he's been decent. He's been hurt a little bit, but they've gotten good mileage out of him this year, oddly enough, which is pretty wild when he was healthy. Miles Jack was unplayable when he was here in training camp. He did nothing good, and then the Steelers brought him back. I guess he's had
He's
something
played well
else
with the
there.
Steelers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
crazy.
um, a lot of unfortunate, a lot of unfortunate events too. Josh Sweat now not being a good player. Bradbury losing the step, losing 5 steps more than they thought he'd lose within several months as he hit 30. Darius Slay was very solid, although I think he had a little lesser of a year than what we're used to, but nothing too wrong with him. No one in the middle of the field for defense. And to be honest, the offense wasn't that great either with this team. There's something wrong with it. Jalen regressed, whether Eagles fans want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
He did a lot of things that he was doing 2 years ago as a first year starter that are just mind boggling. Not viewing the entire field, not being able to pick up the blitz, not being able to pick up defenses, different schemes, um, not throwing the ball away, leaving the pocket earlier than he should. Um, and the list goes
Not
on.
being able to
So
throw when he rolls out to his left.
left, you saw, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
that's a good one.
That was the game
Smart,
plan.
yeah. So it's smart how you blitz that yesterday, and the list goes on. It's not all his fault. As good as Swift was, and I think he was really good. There's something that they didn't use him enough, but I kind of get why they didn't use him enough because you don't want him to get injured. You didn't have anything behind him either. Gainwell's okay,
Mhm.
not that special. Boston Scott really is not playable unless he's playing New York, and that seems like that's faded away too.
So
Uh,
thank God.
Penny, Rashad Penny wasn't active at all this year, and I think for good reason because he can't play. But he shouldn't have been on the team. Period. And besides, Devontae and AJ, who are great, you didn't have many good pass catchers on this team. If you really think about it, the season's
Well,
not over.
Goddard getting hurt too. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Goddard injury hurt, but the Goddard injury hurt. I think even when healthy, it could be a Jalen thing too. I wish he would. They need to utilize him more efficiently, more as a threat because he really can be that.
Mhm.
Um, Olamide Zacchaeus, I think is nice. I don't think he got the ball enough. Quez Watkins is not good, but whatever. And
Yeah.
stolen Alberto, I can't pronounce his last name. He was with Denver. Those were guys who had opportunities to make some plays, and they just didn't get the ball thrown their way at certain times. Sad
Yeah.
either way. It's funny because last year's special teams was dreadfully awful. This year they were amazing. So, um, just a collapse with that Eagles team. I think they still
Yeah.
should be able to beat the Bucks. Bucks are awful, but I should say they can beat the Bucks. Not
Yeah. The
should.
Bucks actually kind of
Nothing
struggled
should with the
against
Eagles
the
anymore.
Panthers in that last game too. So
Yeah, nothing should, and they only scored like 13 the week before against the Saints. Nothing
yeah.
should though with the Eagles anymore. It's definitely could, but
Yeah.
should they win? I don't think you can say that anymore with this team.
Well, hey, at least you're honest, man. I appreciate that, the humility. I mean, and I'm trying to be optimistic, but I am very much aware of how awful the Giants are as well.
Yeah, I think what helps with the Eagles, I think, to be completely honest, is if you admit like everything went south at the wrong time, just what happened. It's not great because you have Super Bowl aspirations this year, but again,
Mhm.
an NFC team has never reappeared back to back Super Bowls since the early '90s. I think maybe the 49ers or Dallas. Um, if you can, I just want this team to go back to where they were before this year, and I think
Yeah,
that if that's the case, I'm okay with them collapsing this year. I am concerned about the quarterback going forward. I'm concerned about the head coach. Need better players. Need better
yeah. A lot
personnel.
of people do not like Sirianni, and like,
Yeah, I think he's getting. It's tough. It just seems like there's no confidence and no changes with him. That's the only reason why I'd get rid of him. Otherwise, I think some of the players also quit because they suck. Like it's not just a
yeah,
like it's easy for them to say, "Oh, we quit because Sirianni lost the locker room." Okay, but you also kind of quit because you can't cover and you've missed 20 tackles in a row. Like some of it has to come on the players. Some of it you have to blame the actual players than the personnel. It's easy to blame the coaches. The coaches haven't been great. I'll absolutely admit that. I'll definitely take two new coordinators, but players gotta they gotta stand up for their actions too. And they played. I mean, they were bottom five, bottom three teams the last 2-3 weeks of the season.
yeah. They did not look good against, like, especially, it's crazy. I feel like Mariota looked better in the second half operating
Yeah,
the offense than Jalen Hurts did.
yeah,
And maybe that's just game plan. We probably weren't game planning for Mariota.
maybe.
Um,
But I've not. Jalen looked lost yesterday. He hasn't
yeah.
looked like lost this year. Yesterday he looked lost. I had no idea I had no idea what he was saying, what he was trying to
Yeah.
do.
Hey, by the way, what is the AJ Brown status? Is there any news on that?
They say that the ACL is intact. Issue is he can't afford to miss the next game, which is on Monday. So
Yeah.
I think he missed serious injury, which is great.
Yeah.
But is it enough where he can play Monday is the problem. So I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure. Hopefully he's ready to go. Also the main thing too is if you're really just like thinking big picture, hopefully everything's intact, nothing structurally damaged, and they can move on to next year, I guess.
Yeah. You want to get into the Commanders Cowboys?
Yes.
All right. Yes. So let me pull this up. And the Commanders went into Dallas and lost. Or no, I mean, the Cowboys go to FedEx Field and destroy the Commanders 38. No, this is an old game. What am I doing? I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, no. 38. Yeah, it was 38-10.
Oh, it was 38 to 10?
Yeah.
Oh, 38 to 10. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, 38 to 10.
14
Um,
10 and a half, deep into the second quarter, 10-7 Commanders.
yeah, I know. I was like, oh, wait, the Commanders might win.
And it was
I,
like, and I'm
it,
watching this,
I was just watching at the bottom of my screen, but yeah, no.
and I'm like, oh
That
my
was
God. I'm like, Dallas, I'm not going to be able to, like, keep up with, like, win by 100. I didn't even care. I was just like, Dallas win because we're going to lose to the Giants. And what a story that would be. But Dallas took care of business eventually, which was interesting. I thought the Commanders, Rivera being his last game, he doesn't care about anything else. He knows he's going to get fired. You sort of see these teams play up to competition. Washington players won contracts. They're also auditioning for other teams potentially.
mm,
They have some pride too. And they also hate Dallas, which is important to note. Um, and I think they gave you probably a good 30 minutes down for
yeah,
at halftime. But they talent overcomes at the end, and then
yeah,
another, I guess, 24 unanswered points in the second half with a 38-10 win. Um, I feel like I said a score close to that. No, I might have been in the 40s, but
yeah,
yeah, Dallas takes care of business. which I feel better about in some ways after the Eagles game, but I really don't. But yeah, pretty uneventful to be honest. It's the Giants being able to smack around bad teams again, facing a
Mhm.
little adversity in the second quarter, first quarter as well, not being able to score as quickly as they probably would have liked. But yeah, they would by 28 in
Yeah,
convincing
and
fashion.
I would say the last game, I think Sam Howell will play as a starter right now. Like I don't like. There's going to be new coaching staff. They have the number 2 pick. They're either going to get Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, one of those three.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sam
Well,
Howell looked. I mean, 2 interceptions, 150 yards, like nothing able to get going on the ground. Um, Nothing really in the air either. Yeah, and the defense, as it's been all season, just abysmal.
Well, it's a good point too that you mentioned with Rivera out. A new
Yeah,
quarterback going to want their own. A new head coach is going to want their own quarterback. Whether
yeah,
that
yeah.
drafting, which is the most ideal situation for a head coach, or finding someone in free agency. There's no attachment to Sam Howell for them.
Mm-mm.
Backup, maybe it's a backup, but he's
I
not
think
like.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a good. That's a good fallback, I think, as a
yeah.
backup. But yeah, the new head coach is going to want to find their guy, and they're in Caleb Williams territory.
In
Um, I
striking
think uh,
distance.
I think
Yeah,
Washington actually they hired Josh Myers, the old
yeah,
GM for Golden State, which in
yes,
theory I like one of the best GMs ever for the NBA, not the other. So
yeah.
it's
He
kind of
won the best executive twice for the
right.
NBA, and they also
Yeah.
hired ex Vikings GM Rick Spielman, which like
Yeah.
so Rick Spielman. I don't know if you know this. He's been a draft analyst all season on CBS. Like I know all of his takes as to
Yep.
like which players he values, where he sees the board falling, which is kind of crazy that they hired him. I don't even really know what his role, if he's just like an advisor role. I know Magic Johnson's supposed to be involved in that as well. Um,
Yeah.
but that is interesting, having Rick Spielman literally be an analyst all year talking about how he views every single one of these players. It's kind of showing a little bit of your cards in a way, but I mean, we'll see how much influence he has. But
Yeah. Spieler was with Minnesota for a while, and he's definitely a known face. There was these all these teams want to get the edge. I remember back when they were the Oakland Raiders in 19, they brought in Mike Mayock.
Mhm.
Didn't work obviously, but these guys they know prospects and they're close to prospects in college ball. So whatever gets them over the edge,
Yeah, I mean,
they'll explore.
and they are. They already said that they're going to be looking into Jim Harbaugh, like every team. Yeah, I think if you fired your coach and you're not looking into Jim Harbaugh's interest, which I made this. I haven't seen this, but Jim Harbaugh, he goes to the Commanders. He has the number 2 pick. He has draft capital. The Commanders have literally the most cap space, I believe, going into this offseason. And he's
Okay.
also playing in the same state as his brother in Maryland. You know,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's not as far fetched as everybody thinks.
Well, it's interesting too because now I think Atlanta is interested in interviewing the enemy.
Yeah,
So
I'm curious to see where that goes. I know that they also already reached out to, I believe, the Ravens offensive coordinator, McDonald. No,
yes.
no, it must be their defensive coordinator because Todd Monken's their OC. So,
Oh,
um, right.
there's an OC McDonald though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that somewhere, uh, but I don't know. The Commanders. Ron Rivera lasted 4 years. It was exciting. I remember that's when the Giants hired Joe Judge, and I kind of wanted Ron Rivera over Joe
Yeah.
Judge. Um, and it's probably the end of Ron Rivera's coaching, unless he pulls a Mike McCarthy and like leaves for 3 years and claims that he did so much research into analytics. But I just don't see that
Yeah,
happening.
I don't see him becoming a head coach ever again. Maybe a positional coach. I remember when he was a positional coach with the Eagles, he did a good job. Um, yeah, I mean he's went to Super Bowl in Carolina. things went south.
Pretty sure you won Coach of the Year too. I think that year.
I would assume so. Yeah, he's had some moments for sure. I think Washington was a tough project. Washington's always going to be a tough project, and he overlapped enough with Snyder.
Yeah.
What's his first name? But
Snyder.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that probably didn't help either. Washington's a tough league. Yeah, I think we've realized Washington's a really tough project. If as a head coach, as a GM, working in their front office, it's just tough. They, with new ownership, maybe there's a difference, but I can tell you with the Sixers, Josh Harris ain't special. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it took a little bit to get going for the Sixers with Josh Harris, right? Little processing, little Markelle Fultz action. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's hope Drake May is not the next Markelle Fultz, if that's who they take.
Oh my god.
Yeah, forgets how to pass. But just going through the season, they get rid of their two best edge rushers. There are a lot of great edge rushers on the market. I don't know if they're going to be franchise tagged or retained by their teams. I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm the Panthers, I think I keep Brian Burns. If I'm the Jags, I think I keep Josh Allen for sure.
Yep.
And I try to do anything I can, unless the Commanders just offer something unbelievable. McLaurin got to his 1,000-yard mark, 1,002 yards. Brian Robinson, I mean, he's a hard runner. He's not like a game changer. It's not like,
I think he's a change up.
He keeps you from. Yeah, I don't think he keeps you from drafting a wide or a running back in like the second or third round if you're like looking for more explosiveness there, especially if you get a rookie quarterback and you want to have a more like reliant run game. It's and their defense is just, Cameron Curl, who I don't know if I noted this, but he was, I think, going into week 17, also one of the players that played every snap on defense. Cameron Curl has been great on the defense. Kendall Fuller's been all right too, but I like Quan Martin, Jotavius Martin, who was their second round pick.
Yep.
He did pretty decent. Yeah. Forbes. Yeah. I know I've been saying this all season. Forbes, especially with like the other, like Deontay Banks, I think played great for a rookie season for us with the Giants. Christian Gonzalez, who they passed on, looked like he was going to be defensive rookie of the year before he got injured.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I try not to
goes moving forward.
I try not to grade rookies on either side of the ball, especially defensively, as starting defenders, because it's just really hard. It's a tough. There's so much to learn. They get so much better in the offseason too. They know what to expect going through it the first time, just to travel, everything. It's really hard. So I give rookie draft pick starters a break after year one. They get some leeway year two, but yeah, they should really start to at least figure stuff out year two.
Yeah. I know some of the first off, no Pro Bowlers too. I think there's 4 teams with no Pro Bowlers. Commanders, no Pro Bowlers, sucks. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, but it makes like Jonathan Allen would be the only one I think. Like
how many yards? How many yards did McLaurin finish with?
1,002. Which I think he got 56.
Oh yeah, he got it the last snap. Yeah, it's a little low for a Pro Bowl. If he had 1,100.
Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't even make the Pro Bowl with 1,500 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, so, that's dumb. Yeah. Who were the 4 that made it over him? AJ,
Puka Nacua, CD, and AJ, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's only 3.
Oh yeah, there must be one. Oh, Mike Evans. The Mike Evans one. Yeah, the Mike Evans one.
Mike Evans it's tough. Evans is elite,
Hall of Famer, but like, yeah, I don't think
he's tough.
Yeah.
Evans is so reliable, though. What did he finish with? He finished with 1,250.
Yeah.
13 touchdowns, 80 catches. What did Amon-Ra have?
I'm pretty sure he had 1,500, at least 1,500 10 touchdowns, yeah.
He had 120 and 10 touchdowns. I guess he's playing the ball more, but his
Doesn't
yards
matter.
are his receptions per yards are low, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe out of fifth, he was deserving.
Yeah.
He's good.
I guess it's unfortunately really not that much else to talk about for this team because like we don't know the direction, coach, GM,
That's right.
anything, and honestly like there's going to be a big offseason for that. But is there anything else you want to say about the Commanders before we get into the division winner Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, I think with them, I think it's safe to say that I'm not even joking. They're starting off decently, and they're getting better because they got rid of Rivera. I think they need someone younger, someone more innovative.
The Lions OC. I mean, I'm blanking on his name, and I've been
Ben Johnson. Well, that's who I
Ben
want.
Johnson.
That's who I want personally. If we get rid of Sears, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's kind of weird because Riverboat Ron was always aggressive, and then this year it seemed like there were a lot of times where he wasn't aggressive, and you couldn't call him Riverboat anymore. It was just Ron Rivera. So, yeah, I think Washington's on a
More
better.
like trickling stream Rivera.
Yes, trickling faucet Rivera. So, yeah, I guess they're better. You have to look at it from that standpoint if you're Washington because it is a slow process for them.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing where they go from here. And Jacoby Brissett too is also a free agent. So if they do go quarterback route, I mean, you probably would let Brissett walk and keep Howell as a backup.
I would think so. I
maybe
like
get another veteran name in there.
I like Brissett a lot, but he's going to be a little expensive. I'm sure other teams would much rather have the value, better teams.
And you don't want Brissett if you're not competing either. Like Brissett's somebody who can hold over.
Yeah, I think he wants to be exactly. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, but the Cowboys keeping the trend alive, as I said earlier. 19 straight seasons with a different division winner. The Cowboys finished this season with a record of 12-5, the number 2 seed. They're going to be playing the Packers, which for the preview episode, we might have a Packers superfan that lives in my house. Maybe come in, say one or two things about the game. Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott said, "I'm not going to throw 10 interceptions this season." And he only threw 9.
Wow.
Only threw 9. He also led the NFL in touchdown passes with 36 in a very low. Usually the leader, I think this is the first year that the leader hasn't had
quarterback. Has been on a downward. Yeah. It's been really bad this year. Yeah.
Yeah. He also, I'm pretty sure, was number 2 in passer rating as well. Mm-hmm. 1 or 2. I don't really know how it shook out after this last game. CeeDee Lamb, I know that we've been going back and forth in this. I think every single game he's been furthering, even this last game where he had almost 100 yards, 13 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He is definitely a top 3 wide receiver in the league right now. Even with Jamar Chase, you bring Justin Jefferson back, Tyreek Hill, I think he's in the conversation as a top 3 wide receiver. Definitely top 5.
Who do you put if you're saying Tyreek? If Tyreek's healthy, and he is.
Yes.
If Justin Jefferson's healthy, which he isn't. If Jamar's healthy.
Which he's been healthy, he just hasn't had Joe Burrow.
He's been a little hurt here and there.
Yeah.
You have CD over one of them?
Honestly, has Jamar Chase put up almost 1,800 yards in a season? Let's look at these numbers. I mean, CeeDee Lamb,
but
now leads in a single season receiving yards. I think receptions for the Cowboys with
the football too.
That's true. I mean, the second best receiver was Jake Ferguson with 700.
Who's nice, who I like. He's a good player.
Yeah,
but
I think Jake Ferguson is great moving forward. Brandon Cooks even too. If you can keep him around for what he's actually worth, I think Brandon Cooks really emerged later on in the season. I'm just saying, CeeDee Lamb, yeah, he was, but that's why Dak Prescott improved, because I think CD improved too. I think that it's linear. I think that they both helped each other. the progression, but I mean,
Jamar Chase missed 2 games this year,
yep.
and he had Scrubby McScrubby throw to him.
Jake Browning had a pretty good season, man.
Browning, he actually has moments. He was good at Washington, but he looked okay. There are also games where he looked awful.
Yeah.
Still had in 16 games with Browning 1,216 yards.
Okay. That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
I like CD.
Good.
He's a good receiver.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's definitely in that top 5 conversation without a doubt.
I would say yes. I would say that.
Yeah. And I really like CD the most out of all those wide receivers in that draft. And I think he went 3rd. He had Ruggs and Judy.
Yes.
Yeah. Crazy. Ruggs, man, he was so fast in and outside the car. But I think the Cowboys have 7 Pro Bowlers too. Like their team is their team has been outside of the 49ers. I would say the second most dominant in the NFC and probably like the 4th most dominant in the NFL this season.
Yeah, it helps
the Ravens, Niners, probably 3rd, honestly. 3rd.
Yeah, I mean it does help with the Eagles' landslide downward spiral for sure. The AFC also, there's not many good teams in the AFC. I mean, it's funny because all the quarterbacks are going over there the last few years, and the NFC is just so much better from top to bottom. Yeah, they've won. A lot of their losses have been bad, which is important to note.
Yeah,
or I should say, relatively bad in the way they do it, who they lose to.
Yeah,
but they've also had a lot.
They got crushed by the 49ers and by the Cardinals for that sake.
Yeah,
but I mean, they ended the season strong, and even though that was a close fight against the Lions, I mean, like if you think about it right now, the only team that which crushed them, the 49ers, is like their biggest, like step away from the Super Bowl. And they have home field advantage until essentially the conference game if it's the 49ers that they're playing and they make it through. But, I mean, and also to think Trayvon Diggs goes down, beginning of the season, and then Deron Bland emerges as like a superstar Pro Bowler.
Very timely. Yeah.
Yeah. And Stephon Gilmore, he didn't fall off. Stephon Gilmore played very well throughout this year too, and he played, especially in that win against the Eagles. I know that he had a monster game, so like he was there in clutch moments as well.
I thought he'd drop off a bit, but he was there. They lose Diggs, and then Bland steps up. Although I think there are ways to target him, and I think that some of this stuff, he's still not elite, but.
No.
He contributed. He definitely he knew what he was doing a lot of the time.
Yeah. It's I mean, I am curious to see how far these if you tell me that the Cowboys make it to the Super Bowl, I'm not baffled. And it sucks to say it's a Giants fan. As I'm sure a lot of people that aren't Cowboys fans, it sucks to say. But I mean, this team is good. They have. You
can also look at them and I don't know if you agree. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost to anybody. I don't know.
No, me neither. I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, there's something the
Packers. Who knows?
Yeah, like I said, anybody in the playoffs, I think, can beat them. Yeah. I think it's going to be tough for the Packers, but if they can put through a good gameplay with Jordan Love, I can see it's going to be tough because it's in Dallas, and I know the referees will be favoring the Cowboys, but they don't scare me like other Dallas teams have that have underachieved in previous years. There's something about them. Their running game isn't enough.
Well, that's the thing too. Tony Pollard, he averaged 4 yards per carry, but he had so many games where I just feel like he was just not efficient. And the only reason why he averaged so much is because he would have those explosive plays, but he would get bottled up at the line of scrimmage a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it really wasn't. And I mean, we'll talk about this when their season actually comes to an end, but Tony Pollard, probably not their lead back going forward. At least not their main.
Yeah, he's a free agent too, right?
Yep. Yeah, he was also franchise tagged. So
Yeah, I don't know what they do. Maybe I think they would try to run it back another year unless some team offers him a bag that
it's
Dallas
actually
doesn't.
crazy. Did Zeke actually played pretty well for the Patriots too? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
if they offered Zeke the money that the Patriots gave him, I feel like he would be very efficient with them this year.
yeah. You had to get him off the team, obviously, because as a backup, he wasn't doing much in that system. But he had moments at the end of the year with New England, with Stevenson getting injured, and just pounding the rock. He was a little healthier too, I think, not having to be a starter. So, and it was okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been a good season. The Cowboys, like I said, and like you said, they could win the Super Bowl or they could be knocked out by the Packers in the first round. But like I said too, I think they're probably top 3 impressive. Their quarterback is top 1, 2 in passer rating, number 1 in passing touchdowns, and
Yeah,
Micah Parsons is a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. He also had over 100 pressures this year, which is like, I think there's only like 6 people since 2000
Parsons.
to have over 100 pressures. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I
yeah.
think it wouldn't surprise me if you said like 130, 150. Well,
I don't. Let me
155.
see if they have it
It
over.
always seemed like he was around the ball.
Yeah, and I honestly like his sacks too. Like he had 14 sacks, but like with all those pressures, and he had 18 tackles for loss, 115 sack yards. I mean, yeah, Micah Parsons is a difference maker.
Yeah, he's really good. I liked him a lot out of college in Penn State, and he didn't play his during the COVID year, which I liked a lot because he was a year healthier in a way. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I think Dallas is annoying because they always like draft decently
Mm-hmm.
and they never win. But
Yeah, the 2 players that I wanted to draft that draft was Devonta Smith and Micah Parsons, and we got Kadarius Toney. We got Kadarius Toney. And by the way,
uh,
the Cowboys allowed you guys, the Eagles, to trade up in front of us, one pick
that's right.
ahead of us,
Absolutely.
to get Devonta Smith. And
Absolutely.
then rather than taking Micah Parsons, we ended up trading back and essentially getting Evan Neal and Kadarius Toney because we got the Bears pick,
Right.
which turned out to be Evan
Right.
Neal. Yeah. Yep.
Not bad.
Yeah, no, Kadarius Toney, Evan Neal. I'd probably take Micah Parsons, to be honest. But, hindsight's 2020. I think that about wraps it up for the season. Moving forward, later this week, we're going to have previews for the Eagles versus Eagles versus Lions? No. What am I saying? Eagles versus Bucks.
Yes.
It's been a long day.
Monday
Eagles
night.
versus Bucks, and on Monday night, and then the Cowboys versus the Packers, which is also Monday night.
Is it?
Or is that Sunday?
That'll be a lot. It's like the Eagles' 5th Monday night game of the year.
Yeah, which is, hey, that's good, especially with a couple of these injuries. Darius Slay.
Yeah, but I hate it. I don't care I don't care if everybody's watching. I want to watch at 1:00 Sunday. Cowboys are at 4:30 on Sunday.
4:30 on Sunday. Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
There's some
pretty good
games.
regular season. Yeah. Oh yeah, some great games.
Matchup,
You got the Lions Rams with Stafford and Goff. You got just some good games. Good games. You got Chiefs and Dolphins too, with Tyreek returning to Kansas City for the first time.
Chiefs are playing the Dolphins at round 1.
Yes.
Oh my god!
The Bills win. Because of that Bills win. The Bills are playing Steelers. Yeah.
Wow.
We got some fun football. We got some fun, and we'll also do some we'll take picks because we're not picking for whatever. We'll just take picks on all of the playoff games moving forward.
Yep.
So we got some fun football. We got some free agency. We got some draft stuff. But thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for whoever's watched for this entire season, which might only be my family and a handful of people that I got to subscribe at the bar. But thank you guys, and thanks for sticking with us. And Jeremy, congrats. We'll see how far the Eagles / Cowboys could take us into this playoff push.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, I just can't believe one of Miami or Kansas City is going to be out after one game.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's
crazy.
wild.
I'm just going to say it here. It's going to be a Browns-Lions Super Bowl, and that would honestly be the coolest thing ever. That's
That would be something.
all right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you later this week with a little preview for the Cowboys and Eagles. Catch you next time.